Hello Rebels and welcome back to my life. So we're gonna do something different with Game of Thrones from now on. We're gonna call it WTF with Game of Thrones, and we're gonna take one element out of each week's episode and dissect it and explain a little bit more about what's going on for those of you who may not have read the books. For those who haven't been watching my Game of Thrones videos over the past several weeks, this is a change from where I tried to cover the entire episode, recapping everything that went on and discussing my thoughts on it. Because there's just too much to talk about it in a single 4-minute video, and I can't afford to make 2 videos about it every single week, so this is the new thing. Today let's talk about the ruined city that Tyrion and Jorah Mormont sailed through near the end of the episode, where they were attacked by the Stone Men. That city was called Valyria, and it used to be the capital of a great empire called the Valyrian Freehold, which the show hasn't explained at all, so don't feel bad if you had no idea what was going on. The Valyrian Freehold was related to, but is not the same as, the Targaryen family, of which Daenerys is the last surviving member, unless you accept that R+L=J, which, let's face it, is pretty much canon by this point. The Valyrian Freehold was the greatest and most powerful empire in the history of the world. It was ruled over by 40 different noble families that vied constantly for power, and all of them, by the way, had dragons. Now, one of these noble families were the Targaryens, and what's funny is that they weren't even one of the most powerful families. They were just a noble family in the empire, and they had dragons. A powerful member of the Targaryen family, named Daenerys, had a dream about the impending doom of Valyria, and she convinced her father to move the Targaryen family out of Valyria and onto an island called Dragonstone. Because of this, she was called Daenerys the Dreamer, and her name was revered in the Targaryen family, which is why our Daenerys was named after her. After the Targaryens moved away, an unspecified doom befell Valyria. No one's clear on the exact details, but we do know a few things. One is that volcanoes erupted, lots of them. Volcanoes everywhere, just boom, fountains of fire and ash, and everybody's dying and burning, it's terrible. Other tales tell of a 300-foot tall wall of water sweeping away what was left of the city, and the ground cracking apart and breaking the city off into its own island instead of part of the larger continent. And most accounts agree that there was a great rumbling and a shaking in the ground that shook the foundations of the city, and that this rumbling could be felt as far away as the north of Westeros. So my personal theory is that a great meteor hit the ocean several miles away from Valyria, sending up the tidal wave and breaking apart the fault line that separated the city from the rest of the continent, which would have caused the dormant volcanoes that were obviously there to erupt. Regardless of any of that, what we do know is that the city was destroyed, and with it much of the empire. The last remnant of Valyria was the Targaryen family living on Dragonstone Island, not far away from King's Landing, the current capital of Westeros. After that, the Targaryens set about conquering all of Westeros, a process that only took them about 100 years, and then they ruled it for many, many years until Robert Baratheon rebelled, took over the kingdom, and that all happened several years before the start of the Game of Thrones storyline that we know and have watched on the show. Meanwhile, Valyria came to be known as a cursed land where the seas boiled and demons walked the earth. People said that ash and fire still reigned everywhere, and that smoke hung all over the land so that you couldn't even see anything. Now, we know from when Tyrion and Jorah sailed through it that that's no longer true, but what is true is that when people contract the disease of grayscale, they are usually sent to Valyria to live out the rest of their short and very painful life. As you can see from the Stone Men that attacked them at the end of the episode, grayscale eventually takes over the entire body, corrupting the mind so that people just want to attack other people and turn them into, well, basically zombies. Huge, supernaturally strong zombies who want to infect other people with grayscale. So that is WTF is up with this week's episode of Game of Thrones. Spread that knowledge around, especially at parties where it will make you feel superior to other people who watch the show and also don't read the books. I want to give a shout out, as always, to my Patreon supporters who make all of my YouTube endeavors possible. If you want to be one of those incredibly attractive people, click the Patreon link in the video description below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!